Today is Financial Awareness Day. We are talking about how much money you should have in your retirement savings. Varies depending on where you are in life, and if you're behind, there are ways to catch up.
Craig Bolanos is here. He's the CEO of Wealth Management Group in Inverness. Thanks for being with us. Before we get to the retirement stuff, Dow's down 462 points at latest check. So what's that all about?
Another day of craziness. I mean, we've had trade wars, we have currency wars, we have wars of words, and now what you're seeing is these record low interest rates where people in Europe actually have negative mortgages, and there's fear that some of this race to zero for super low rates is going to spill onto our shores. But if I made it really simple, anytime this thing called the yield curve inverts, we've had a recession inside of 22 months as a virtual guarantee. So I think this is a reminder, kind of a flare gun going off in the middle of the night, that there is a global slowdown that's eventually going to make its way onto the shores of our United States of America.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on that today. We're only in the first hour of trading, but let's talk about some retirement savings. I think people always want to know how much money should I want to have put away for retirement? But you say that varies depending on how old you are.
Oh, I think it's the epitome. It's the ultimate question that every financial planner gets, which is how much should I have saved at these different ages? And what we've tried to do, and Fidelity did a great study, they've came up with these saving factors, I call them, these different subsets of how much of your income should be saved.
Here's the chart.
Yeah. So if we take a look at that, Rob, and I think, if we're 30 years old and we make $80,000 a year, then we should have $80,000 saved for retirement. But then right after that, this race against time, and that's exactly what retirement planning is, a race against time, because by 40, we need to have 3 times our annual salary saved, and then ultimately, once we get to the new mantra for Social Security, which is 67, you really should have 10 times your annual salary put away. And don't get me wrong, these are aspirational numbers, but if you can get there, they definitely get the job done.
Wow.
So for savings, what are the different ways people can save? Let's start with the 401k.
Well, I think, Dan, I'm so happy you said that, because the most obvious clue is deceptive. And what I mean by that is people say, hey, where should I start saving? If you're blessed to have a workplace 401k, that's where the money's got to go, right from dollar number one, because you got to take that company match, and it makes it easy to avoid something called lifestyle creep.
Now, what if the company doesn't match?
Well, we're in this gig economy. I was talking with some guests backstage about that, and when we're in this gig economy, you don't have the backing of that employer 401k, so you've got to go ahead and fund an individual retirement account, preferably a Roth IRA, to get some dollars into the tax-free safety zone for your future retirement security.
What is a Roth IRA? Is there... Yeah, just explain what that is.
Yeah, real quick. So the traditional IRA, the traditional 401k, we put these monies in, we get a tax deduction up front, we get tax-sheltered growth, but when we take the money out eventually, what do we have to do? Pay taxes on it. The Roth IRA is the reciprocal of that. We get no deduction when we put the money in. We get tax-deferred or tax-sheltered growth, but when we go to withdraw that money for retirement, to pay for our lifestyle, meals and entertainment, travel and leisure, every dollar that comes out tax-free, and I think there's nothing better than things that are what? Tax-free.
Let's talk about catching up. If you could put the graphic back up here and maybe take, for example, someone in their 50s. We have that graphic that we had before. So if you're in your 50s right now, the chart says you should have 6 times your salary saved by the time you're 50. So for people who have not hit that mark, what are some ways that they could catch up?
Well, and let's be very clear. No one in America is hitting that mark. These are aspirational numbers that if you get to them, you're going to be good. But one of the things you can do is if you're in a fortunate place where you've got the kids through college, you've got, the debt service kind of handled, and you're just saying to yourself, gee, the amount of money I put in my IRA is not enough, you can do a catch-up provision, as you indicated, Dan, of an additional $1,000. If you're lucky enough to have a 401k 401k plan, if we're over the age of 50, you can put an additional $6,000 into that 401k. We call it turbocharging your retirement on this sprint towards retirement.
Right, because right now you can only contribute a maximum amount, right? Isn't it set every year? Isn't it right currently like 18,500 or $18,500?
You're spot on. They
Okay.
just changed it for 2019. So in your regular 401k, it's $19,000, which is a big lift in and of itself. But if you get to that point in life where you just realize there is no tomorrow, retirement's a race against time, find a way to get a side hustle, earn some additional money, and get that catch-up provision put in on top.
Greg, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah,
for more information, you can check out Wealth Management Group at investwithwmg.com or call 833-W.